You are not watching the best anime of spring 2022, and that is a fact. Throw out all of your Kaguya-sama spy families and shield heroes, cause it's time to put on the best show of spring 2022, which is Summertime Rendering. The plot takes place on a small island with a population of only 700 people. Our main character Shinpei currently lives in Tokyo, but decides to return to his hometown to attend his friend's funeral. His friend Ushio drowned while trying to save a young girl, but after learning about bruises around her neck, Shinpei decides to further investigate Ushio's death. And while doing that, he comes into contact with these mysterious shadows. They're basically doppelgangers that kill their original counterpart and take their place. And now Shinpei has to find a way to save his friends and family from these shadows. Now there is one more plot point concerning this special ability Shinpei has, but I'm gonna leave that part a secret since without knowing what it is, the ending of the first episode is gonna shock you that much more, trust me. Now, what about this makes Summertime Rendering the best anime of spring 2022 in my opinion? Well, it's two things, the general vibe of the show and the characters in it. As soon as the show starts, you're already filled with this small sense of uneasiness, and once Shinpei sets foot on the island, that feeling grows even larger. The entire time while watching the show, you're surrounded by this general feeling of discomfort and uncertainness. You genuinely feel like anything can happen at any point, which makes the viewer and the characters in the show filled with so much anxiety. This is a great time to mention the general quality of the show. It is beautiful. The direction, the camera work, the sound design all work in tangent to sell this feeling of, well, frick, anybody can be this bloodthirsty shadow and I can't do jack shit about it. There isn't a lot of fancy animation at work here because honestly the show doesn't really need it. Because of that, the general look of the show is consistent, characters remain on model, and in general the show always looks, well, pretty. Now speaking of the characters, I freaking love them. They all have their distinct personalities, but are underlined with their own fears, faults and anxieties, which makes them nicely three-dimensional. I especially enjoyed the main character, Shinpei. He feels smarter than the average protagonists that find themselves in these kinds of stories, but on the other hand, he isn't like the biggest giga chat who solves every problem in minus 3.4 seconds. His motto is to take a step back, to take a breather and look at the situation as a whole and make decisions based on his observations. Of course, he doesn't always make the best decisions and he suffers quite a bit for them. But that's what makes him and this story interesting. Through trial and error, he must find a way to beat this threat and basically save everyone, effectively forging the best future possible for everybody, a task he finds more and more impossible as he starts learning about the situation as a whole. That all makes this show feel so purely great. It feels like every part of this anime has been polished to perfection. The plot, the feelings about it, the direction, the sound design, characters, voice acting, it all feels above average and it all works to bring about this genuinely interesting show that fills you with anxiety. I guess I have to bring attention to sound design first. Like surely all the sound effects, the music, everything just accentuates this feeling of dread and anxiety and unknowingness so much higher than it usually would have. Like the music is absent in places it should be absent, it's slow and creepy in places it should be, and in general the sound designs, especially those gosh darn summer crickets, are used so honestly perfectly to bring about this genuine vibe of a small summertime, town with these small amounts of people and basically this whole sense of isolation. In general, I love the characters in the show and I don't want bad things to happen to them, but I also want to learn more about the mysteries of the island. And honestly, if a show can make me feel all of these emotions at the same time, then in my opinion, it's a certified banger. But I do have my concerns, of course. Currently, there are only 2 episodes out, and who knows in which direction the show will go towards. The original manga this anime is adapting is finished, And while people are generally giving it praise, there are also people saying that later on it becomes a bit crazy. I honestly can't comment on all that since I personally haven't read the manga, but I can see it happening. This kind of plot, if not handled well, can easily fall into obscurity and end up overcomplicating things needlessly. There are already a lot of different supernatural elements at play here, and I just hope the show manages to keep the vibe that it's currently got and it remains interesting until the end. But hey, if you're not a fan of these kinds of shows and you want something a bit more fun and lighthearted and not filled with dread and anguish, then you can check out this video where I talk about another anime that's currently airing called A Couple of Cuckoos. The main characters there get switched at birth and then their parents arrange a marriage between them. So yeah, quite an interesting watch if you ask me. But hey, in the end, all I have to say is thank you so much for watching this video and I hope to see you in another one. Stay strong, guys.